everyone, welcome to Arth IAS. I am Amit Kumar. Friends, in this lecture, we are going to continue our Prelims Special Polity Crash Course, and this is lecture number 5 of this series. And today we are going to discuss very important topic, that is preamble of Indian Constitution. And before starting this lecture, I would recommend you that remember the whole preamble by heart. Each and every word of preamble is important, especially for your prelims perspective. If you are going to attempt prelims 2025, I would recommend that you should remember preamble by heart. Each and every word is important, right? So this is the preamble, right? And before discussing the key terms and other provisions of preamble, I would like to tell you that the Indian preamble, right, can be divided into 3 parts, right? So first part is known as revolutionary part, right? So from here, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign socialist secular democratic republic and to right republic here republic, this is known as revolutionary part. This is revolutionary part. Revolutionary part. Right. Second, from here, to secure, right, to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and opportunity, and to promote them among all. Right. So fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. So this is called promissory part, right? Promissory promissory part, this one, right? And lastly, this one, in our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. This is called declarator part, right? Declarator part. Right. So this is how the Indian preamble can be divided into 3 parts. Again, I am repeating. From here, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and right republic here. This is known as revolutionary part. Why revolutionary part? Because India had changed its, you can say, the nature of governance from colonial rule to sovereign country. Right now, means after independence, India became what? A sovereign country, socialist country, secular country, and democratic republic country. So that's why this is called revolutionary part. Second, promissory part. Here, we, the people, have promised that justice, liberty, equality, fraternity would be ensured in the society among people. That's why we have promised ourselves. Lastly, this is declarator part. Declarator part means here the Constituent Assembly, right, on behalf of people of India, declared that we ourselves have given, right, given to the Constitution. Right. So this was all about the parts of preamble. Again, now here we will discuss the sources first, as we have seen the preamble. So first we will discuss the sources of preamble. So you would be knowing that it is inspired from American Constitution, right? Means the American Constitution is the first constitution which started, right, the, you can say, the convention or practice of inclusion of preamble in the Constitution. And today, most of the modern democratic or most of the countries include preamble in their constitution, including India. So, American Constitution is the inspiration, right? Second, ideal of justice, right? The idea of justice. We will discuss all these things later. So, it has been taken from or derived from USSR. Next, republic and ideals of liberty, equality, fraternity, right? Liberty, equality, and fraternity. Obviously, very popular French Constitution. And if you have read world history, you would be knowing that these three terms were slogan of French Revolution: liberty, equality, fraternity. Right. So this was all about sources of preamble. Now we will see about the preamble. Right. So preamble, what is it? First, it talks about nature of a state. Nature of a state means, for as you do know, India, or the preamble says that what India is a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. So what is it? It talks about nature of a state of India, or nature of Indian, you can say Indian state, right? So sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, right? And listen, though I have used comma here, but preamble does not use comma, right? These terms should be read commandly without any pause. Sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. If you want to watch, here, just see. Here, you can clearly see that no comma is there, right? Between these five terms, no comma is there. Here, sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. You should read it commandly, right? Next, it talks about the source of authority. Source of authority means from where does the constitution derives its authority? Or authority means what? Legitimate power. So it is the people, we the people, right? Means we the people of India have the ultimate authority. We have given ourselves to the constitution, and constitution is nothing but a social contract between the state and people. Right? So ultimately, the power lies with the people of India. Next, objectives of constitution. Objectives of constitution means what? I told you that this is promissory part. We promise ourselves what? That justice should be ensured, liberty, equality, fraternity, unity, and integrity. Right? So it talks about the objectives of the constitution, and you would be knowing that preamble is nothing but philosophical part. It acts like guide. Even the Supreme Court or High Court, while interpreting the constitution, take cognizance of the preamble, right? Simple. Next, date of adoption. Obviously, you should be very clear, very specific here that it is means the date of adoption is 26 November 1949. Right? And this day you would be knowing is celebrated as Samvidhan Divas or Constitution Day. Right? Again, one important thing you should know that the preamble is nothing but the modified version, right? The modified version of objective resolution, which provided or outlined the constitution's guiding principles. And who presented it? Who formulated it? It was Jawaharlal Nehru, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Next, now we will discuss all the key words of the preamble, right? All the keywords. So first important word, that is we the people of India, as the preamble starts with the people, the term we the people of India, right? So what is the meaning of we the people of India? So in simple terms, you should know that it indicates constitution derives its powers from the people of India. So who has the ultimate authority? In the previous slide we have seen that people of India have the ultimate authority. Right? No one is supreme or superior to the people of India. Right? The people of India have the ultimate authority, ultimate power. Again, emphasizing popular sovereignty. Popular sovereignty, it simply means where people are sovereign. In monarchy, the monarchy is sovereign, but in popular sovereignty, people are sovereign. And in a democratic republic country like India, people are sovereign. So it also emphasizes popular sovereignty. Next, this highlights democratic foundation of India. Obviously, democracy means what? In terms or in the statement, or you can say, if you want to use the Abraham Lincoln's statement, he says, what? Of the people, by the people, for the people. Right? So it also reflects or highlights the democratic foundation of India. India is a democratic country. Though, which kind of democracy? Indirect democracy, not direct democracy like Switzerland. Because in a vast country like India with huge population, direct democracy is not possible. We have indirect democracy. We elect our representative and they make law on behalf of us. Next, it reflects principle of collective will and inclusivity of all. Collective will means we the people have collectively, right, done all these things. All these things means we have framed the constitution for ourselves. Inclusivity, people from all sections of society were member of constituent assembly. They participated in framing or the procedure of framing of constitution. So this was all about we the people of India. Next term, solemnly resolved. Right. So solemnly resolved, it is a kind of, you can say, a promise, right, or commitment. Right. It simply means a serious and formal commitment. Right. By whom? By the people of India. Solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign socialist secular democratic republic. So it is a commitment that we, the people of India, have made, that we will make our country like this. So achieve the objectives of the constitution. Next, it shows the intent and determination behind the constitution's creation. So intent, again, intent and determination. Commitment is what? Nothing but determination. Resolve, also commitment, determination. Simple. Next, it emphasizes the deliberation and purposeful framing of the constitution. Deliberation, why deliberation? As you do know that each and every provision in the constitution was not included or incorporated in has or hurried manner. Right? Each and every provision was debated, discussed, deliberated. Right? And sometimes some provisions were put to vote. Next important term, constitute India. So constitute India means what? Constitute India. It simply means that people of India want to establish what? Or form India with a defined structure and governance system. Defined structure, for example, socialist. Which kind of country? A socialist country, a sovereign country, secular country, right? A democratic republic. So it is the defined structure and governance system. For example, which kind of governance system? We have parliamentary system of governance. Next, it indicates the act of creating a constitutional framework. Obviously, again, it marks the transition of India into a structured state. Right? Earlier, means before the framing of constitution, before independence, India was a colony of Britain. But now it was a transition phase. It reflects the transition phase from colony to a sovereign secular, right, or sovereign state, a democratic state. Next, sovereign, right? So listen, the sovereign is a basically used in legal sense. It is a legal term, right? Why? Because it reflects, simply it means that India is an independent and free from external control. Right? When a country, state is called sovereign, it simply means it is free from any kind of external control. Right? It is free to make plans, policies, laws, right? Whether it is related with internal affairs or external affairs. Right? For example, India makes its laws to regulate its internal affairs. Again, it makes its own foreign policy. No one is, or no one decides that. Right? Even we become, or we choose to become member of any international body, international organization, or any international group with our own will. It is our own choice. We are not forced, or no one can force us. For example, we became a member of Commonwealth nation, right? So it was our own choice, not that British forced us. They could not, because we became member of Commonwealth after independence, and we have discussed all these things in our previous lectures. So sovereign, simply I told you, and no need to explain again more, same thing again and again. We have to save the time. So with supreme authority, over its internal and external affairs. So simply sovereign means what? Any state or country is free to make its own internal or external related laws, plans, policies, etc. Right? Again, reinforced by India's non-alignment policy. Non-alignment policy, obviously, we declined to be or take side of any particular country. Under this non-alignment policy, we remained neutral, especially during Cold War era. Like, it was our own choice, and it could happen only because India is a sovereign state. Again, and independence from colonial rule, obviously. Next, socialist. So listen, Indian socialism, simply, it is commitment to reducing socio-economic inequalities. Socio-economic inequalities means, for example, social inequality related with caste, gender, economic inequality, for example, related with poverty. So we, under this socialism or socialist principle, India is committed to reduce socio-economic inequalities, whether it is related with caste-based discrimination, gender-based discrimination, or based on wealth, means rich or poor. Right? So, and promoting welfare through state intervention. Right? For example, DPSP is Directive Principle of State Policy. What is it? It tries to ensure welfare state. Again, this term, socialist, was added by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. You should know that, and you do know that three important words, socialist, secular, and integrity, was amended, included in the preamble by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976. Again, I am repeating, three words, socialist, secular, integrity, was added to the Indian Constitution by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. Next, Indian socialism is democratic socialism, not Marxism. Democratic socialism means it is not the hardest form of socialism. Right? No total control of a state. Right? Basically, Indian socialism is Gandhian socialism, not Marxist socialism. Next, emphasizes, means this concept of socialism emphasizes equitable distribution of resources. Obviously, equitable distribution of resources means at least people should have their basic amenities, their basic demands, basic needs should be fulfilled. Again, social justice. Social justice means, for example, caste-based discrimination, gender-based discrimination should be removed. Right? Either through policies like reservation or public sector enterprises. Obviously, reservation, it try to ensure what? Social justice. For example, people related with depressed, or people from depressed class, SC, ST communities, they are allowed reservation. OBCs, they are allowed reservation so that they can uplift their past or they can change their past, and it would help them to make or lead a good life. Next, secular, right? Again, I told you that this term was also added by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976, and another term, integrity. Socialist, secular, integrity, three terms were added by this Amendment Act. Now, what is the meaning of secular? It simply means that state maintains neutrality towards all religion. That is the meaning of secularism, right? General meaning or common meaning of secularism: ensures equal treatment of all faiths, right? But Indian secularism is different. It is not, or it is not similar to Western concept of secularism. Right? In Western countries, there is negative concept of secularism, or it is known as negative secularism. It reflects complete separation between the state and the church or religion. For example, take example of France or USA. There is complete separation between religion and state. But in India, we have positive concept of secularism. Positive concept of secularism means state is allowed to intervene in religious matters. Right? So Indian secularism is a positive secularism rather than negative. For example, France, there is complete separation between state and religion. For example, in France, no one is allowed, right? And almost I think 12 years ago, this law was passed that no one is allowed to wear or put any religious symbol in public places. But in India, we are free to wear or put any religious symbol. Right? State can intervene in religious affairs. Next term, democratic. So India, as I told you, that India is a democratic country. But which kind of democratic country? We have indirect democracy, not direct democracy. Simply a system of government where power is vested in the people, exercised directly or through elected representative. So in India, we have this system. This is called indirect democracy. We elect our representatives, and these representatives make law, plans, policies for us. Right? But for example, Switzerland has direct democracy. And one more important thing I would like to tell you, that India has direct democracy, but at very grassroots level, at Gram Sabha level. You should remember, if even in interview the question is asked that whether India has direct democracy, you should answer yes, but only at grassroots level, that is Gram Sabha level. Only at Gram Sabha level, because each and every voter is member of Gram Sabha, and they participate in plans, making plans, policy schemes for that village. But at upper level, you can say even at panchayat level or state level or union level, we don't have direct democracy. We have indirect democracy or representative democracy. Next, India follows parliamentary democracy with periodic elections. Obviously, periodic elections, for example, general elections of Lok Sabha and Legislative Assembly takes place after the interval of 5 years. That is called periodic elections. Right? And already we have parliamentary democracy. Parliamentary democracy means we elect our representative represents the people of India or people from their own constituencies, and again what they are means these representatives are responsible towards the lower house, that is Lok Sabha. Next, republic. So what is the meaning of republic? Simply listen, republic means the head of state. Right? For example, in case of India, it is the president of India is the head of state. In case of Britain, it is the British monarch is the head of state. So if any country is republic, it means that the head of state is elected, not hereditary. Right? So the head of state, that is president, is elected, not hereditary, ensuring no monarchy. Right? For example, in Britain, as I told you that the British monarch is the head of state. So in Britain, it is, or this post of head of state is hereditary. That's why Britain is not republic, but India is republic. Why? Because the head of state, for example, the president is elected head, not hereditary, right? Though he is elected indirectly, but he is elected. Again, India became a republic on 26 January 1950. Obviously, why? Because on this day the whole constitution came into force, enacted, right, with an elected president, obviously. And who was the first president of India? Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Next, justice. So justice, it simply means ensuring fairness. In which sense? Whether it is social, economic, or political sphere. Right? And same line was asked in 2017 in prelims. Right? That's why I suggest you that remember the whole preamble by heart. Now, social justice. Social justice means the preamble talks about three types of justice: social, economic, and political. Social justice means what? Simply removing discrimination based on caste or gender, etc. Right? That is called social justice. Right? How to ensure social justice? By removing discrimination based on whether it is caste or gender. Right? And both caste-based discrimination or gender-based discrimination, right, exists in India even more than 1,000 years. Right? Again, economic justice. Economic justice simply means reducing the disparities, the disparities between rich and poor. Right? It try to ensure or avoid concentration of wealth in the hands of few people. It try to ensure allocation of resources, distribution of resources among the people of India. Right? So reducing wealth disparities and ensuring equitable distribution of resources. That is called economic justice. Next, political justice. Obviously, very simple. Political justice means what? Equal political rights. Equal political rights means right to each and every person in India who is 18 years or above, irrespective of his caste, gender, place of birth, or even educational status or wealth status. Whether you are rich, poor, educated, uneducated, male, female, no matters. Right? You have right to vote, provided what condition should be fulfilled? That at first you should be 18 years or above. Second, your name should be in the electoral roll, that is generally called as voter list. Like for example, you are 18 years or even more than 18 years, but your name is not registered in the electoral roll. You are not allowed to vote. Note, link to, so these three justice, right? These three types of justice are linked to fundamental rights and directive principle of state policy. For example, fundamental rights try to ensure political justice. Directive principle of state policy try to ensure social and economic justice. Next, a core objective reflected in policies like affirmative action and welfare schemes. Obviously, correct. All the welfare schemes try to ensure mainly two types of justice: social and economic justice. Right? Next, liberty. So, in simple terms, liberty means what? Freedom. Freedom of what? So, the preamble talks about 5 types of liberty. How many types of liberty? 3 types of justice. 5 types of liberty. Liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. Right? 5 types of liberty. Again, I am repeating: liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, worship. Thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship for all citizens. Again, connected to fundamental rights. Why? Because you do know freedom of speech and expression, thought and expression, is related with Article 19, and all these 3, belief, faith, and worship, is related with Article 25 to 28. Next, balances individual freedom with reasonable restrictions. Right. So reasonable restrictions. Listen, liberty does not mean that you have license to do anything. There are reasonable restrictions. When we will discuss Article 19, we will discuss what are reasonable restrictions. Simply, you should know that liberty does not mean that license to do anything. While enjoying your liberty, you should also consider that others' rights are not violated. Others should also enjoy their liberty, their freedom. Right. And in case of violation of public peace order, right, health, morality, there are reasonable restrictions, and the state can impose reasonable restrictions. Next, equality. So equality simply means what? Equal status. Equal status means what? No privilege, no discrimination, and equal opportunity also. So equal status means no privilege, no discrimination, and equal opportunity. Equal opportunity means what? Fair access to resources and positions. Right? Fair access to resources, for example, public places. Right? Each and every person is allowed to visit public places. Each and every person is allowed to hold certain public positions or government official. Right? For example, UPSC gives all means level playing field for each and every aspirant, no matter from which background are you from. Right? Whether you have studied in Harvard or whether you have studied from any government college, it hardly matters, because question is same, procedure is same. Right? So it is what? Equal opportunity for all. Again, addresses historical inequalities. Obviously, historical inequalities means what? Caste-based discrimination, gender-based discrimination. All these are historical inequalities. As I told you, that, and you do knowing that you must have read in ancient India, Vedic culture, Rigvedic culture. Right? So it exists, means caste in India exists even more than, you can say, 1,000 years. Right? So again, and promotes inclusivity. Inclusivity means each and every section of society, each and every section means people from each and every section of society should be included. Next, fraternity. Right? Listen, this is generally it is related with emotion. Why? Means fraternity in simple terms means what? Sense of brotherhood. Sense of brotherhood means what? We as a human, first we all are human, so we all should have sense of belongingness. Sense of belongingness means we should consider each and every, or all of us, with equal treatment. Right? So in Indian context, it is a sense of brotherhood and unity. Sense of brotherhood and unity. Right? And again, among citizens, ensuring dignity of individuals. Right? Dignity of individuals and national unity. So two terms here are important: dignity, unity. Dignity is related with the individual. Listen, there is very fine, you can say, minute difference between respect and dignity. Right? For example, if you don't respect anyone or others, it is your neutral approach. But you are not allowed to insult anyone. If you insult anyone, it means you are hurting someone's dignity. Right? Each and every person is born with inherent dignity, and no one is allowed to destroy, or you can say, insult anyone or destroy the dignity of any person, whether male, female, whatever, rich, poor, or younger or older, whatever. Again, unity. We all should have a sense of unity, that we belong to one nation, one country. We have one constitution. We should avoid separatist tendencies. Again, why this sense of brotherhood or unity is important? Because it is essential for India's diverse society, right, to maintain harmony and unity. Obviously, think about right? You must have read or completed ethics paper, right? So what is morality, what is ethics? It makes you, if you, generally if a person is moral, ethical, it means what, that person is rational, that person have logic. So which, if in a country like India, which has very diverse culture and huge population, we only by maintaining the harmony and unity we can live peacefully. We should avoid any kind of hatred, we should be kind, we should be generous. Next, dignity of individual, right? So dignity of individual, already I have explained that, simply respecting the inherent worth of every person. Inherent worth of every person means what, each and every person has its own value. Value means not monetary value, its own recognition, own social value, social recognition. I told you that, for example, if you are not respecting anyone, it's okay, it is your neutral approach, though you should respect. But if you are not respecting, it is your neutral approach, but you are not in any sense, right? You are not allowed to hurt or disrespect anyone. If you are hurting someone, or either whether by your word, thought, action, whatever, it is what, you are hurting someone's dignity. Or what is dignity? It is the inherent worth of every person. Ensuring their rights and freedoms, obviously. Next, it is linked to fundamental rights, human rights principles, obviously. Next, a humanistic principle safeguarding individuals' respect. Next, unity and integrity of the nation. So again, this term integrity was added by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976, right? So it simply means the term unity and integrity of the nation, it simply means promoting national unity and territorial integrity. National unity, territorial integrity. Territorial integrity means in no situation, right, the state should demand, or people should demand a separate country or separate state. You should always, or we should always maintain the territorial integrity of our country. One people, one nation, right? And again, national unity. Preventing divisive forces. Divisive forces means any force, any person, any party, right, which try to break India, it should be abolished. Right? Always we should try to make our country more stronger, more united, more integrated, and we should avoid any kind of separatist tendency. That is our moral obligation, moral duty. Again, already I have told you, integrity was added by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. Again, this reflects India's commitment to a strong and united nation despite diversity. So, the diversity is our beauty, or diversity is the beauty of India. Right? For example, take example, a flower vase with only one kind of flower, and a flower vase with different kind of flowers. So the second vase which has different kind of flower, it looks more beautiful, and that is beauty of diversity. We have different people from different religion, different faith. We have people from different culture. We have people with different languages. We have people with different food habit, different cultures. That is the beauty of diversity. Next, adopt, enact, and give to ourselves. Obviously, the preamble was adopted, constitution was adopted and enacted. So, adopted, it simply means the act of formally accepting, right, and establishing the constitution by the people, right, through their representatives, right. So, the members of Constituent Assembly or our founding fathers were not aliens; they were our people, our beloved leaders. Right. On behalf of ourselves, they framed such a beautiful, such a strong constitution. Right? So simply adopt, enact, and give to ourselves. It means that the act of formally accepting and establishing the constitution by the people through their representatives. Again, emphasizes that self-governing nature of India's constitutional process. Self-governing nature means what? We ourselves are governing. For example, people of India are governing themselves through elected representatives, and if they don't like their representative, they have chance, right, or opportunity to change that in the next election. That is the beauty of democracy. Next, it marks the democratic and participatory nature of the constitution, making right. So obviously India is a democratic and participatory nature of country. Simple. Next, this date 26th 26th day of November 1949. This date is very important. You should remember that this date is given in the preamble, 26th November 1949. This date is given in the preamble, not other date. UPSC may confuse you, right? It can play with your mind that the date mentioned in the preamble is 26th November 1949, 9th December 1949, right? 26th January 1950, 24th January 1950. But you should be very clear that the date is given is 26th November 1949, and on this date the preamble was adopted, right? And some of the provisions, as you were doing, we have already discussed in the previous lectures, that some of the provisions of constitution were or came into force from this date. For example, related with citizenship, related with elections, right? But the whole constitution came into force or was enacted on 26 January 1950, known as Republic Day. The date when constitution was adopted, right, and by the Constituent Assembly. And this day is celebrated as Constitution Day or Samvidhan Days. Now answer my one question, that from which year this day is celebrated? From which year? Or which year the Constitution Day was celebrated, declared by the government of India? Which day? Which year? Right? Comment in the comment box. Next. Now we will see two important things, then we will end our lecture. So first question arises, whether preamble is a part of constitution or not. Right. So what happened, that in Berubari Union case 1960, the Supreme Court held that the preamble is, though preamble is very important and it acts like a guiding principle, but it is not the part of Indian constitution. Right. You should remember that in Berubari Union case 1960, though Supreme Court accepted the importance of preamble, right, that it acts as a guiding principle, but it means preamble is not the part of Indian constitution, right? But it reversed its previous statement, right? In which case? Very famous case, Keshwanand Bharti case 1973, right? And you know why this case is very famous? Because the doctrine of basic structure was propounded by the Supreme Court in this case, right? So in this case, the Supreme Court accepted, right? I have written in brief, but I would like to tell you that the Supreme Court accepted its error in the previous judgment of Berubari Union case, and it reversed its statement and held that preamble, right, is a part of the Indian constitution, right? So this was nullified. Now in Keshwanand Bharti case, Supreme Court held or accepted that the preamble is part of Indian constitution. Next, again in LIC of India case 1995, the Supreme Court again extended this statement, right? It said that preamble is an integral part, right? Integral part of Indian Constitution. Integral part in simple terms, which cannot be separated, right? So what is the current position? Current position is the preamble is the part of Indian Constitution and not part. It is an integral part of Indian Constitution. Now you should remember certain important points I have mentioned here, that the preamble was inserted at the end, right? Such type of statement maybe, or such type of statement you can find in your questions, that preamble was inserted in the constitution at the beginning, in the mid of the framing of the constitution, or at the end of the constitution. So you should remember that it was inserted at the end of the constitution. Why? So that it can be aligned with the other provisions of the constitution. And why? Because it is the philosophical part. It acts like the guiding star, guiding principle, and judiciary takes cognizance, right, or takes reference from the preamble while interpreting the constitution. Next, it is neither a source of power to the legislature nor a prohibition upon its power, right? So it is neither source of power for legislature nor a prohibition on its power. Next, it is non-justiciable. Non-justiciable means it cannot be enforced in the court of law, right? And you would be knowing, besides preamble, directive principle of state policy and fundamental duties are also non-justiciable. Again I am repeating, fundamental duties, directive principle of state policies, and preamble, all these three are non-justiciable in nature. They cannot be enforced in court of law. Now another important question, can or whether preamble, right, whether preamble can be amended under article 368 or not, right? So this question first, right, arise in Keshavanand Bharti case, right? And the Supreme Court held that, as Supreme Court held that preamble is part of the constitution, it can be amended. Because for the first time in this case, Keshavanand Bharti case, the Supreme Court held that preamble is part of constitution, and when it is part of constitution, it can be amended, right, by the parliament under article 368. And you do knowing that till date it has been amended only once, like which year? Obviously 1976. Which amendment? 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, right? But here you should remember one more important thing, that this amendment, right, or preamble can be amended without destructing the basic structure. Basic structure means, for example, certain terms included in the preamble, for example, secularism, socialism, democracy, these terms cannot be removed from the preamble. Though you can add more words, but such terms cannot be removed from the preamble. And if it is removed, it will destroy the basic structure of the constitution, right? So simply, what is the current situation? Again, the preamble can be amended under article 368 provided the basic structure should not be destroyed. And lastly, till date preamble has been amended only once in 1976 by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. And you would be knowing three important words: socialist, secular, and integrity was added by this 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, right? So today we have discussed a very important topic, that is preamble of Indian Constitution, and we have discussed each and every important word of preamble, its provision, right? And trust me, this lecture is going to help you a lot if question comes from this topic in upcoming prelims. Till then, keep revising, keep practicing. We will meet in another lecture. Thank you.